As life evolves, the problems we are forced to overcome get worse and worse. Enough time just spent living for the next day gets eventually met with a world of confusion. We get completely lost, we have no idea where we are, why we're there, with no hope for a way out. What we often need here is to take things to an extreme, to make them even worse until enough hate builds up where we're forced into action. But there's a caveat. Our lives already have been made radical. The worlds that movies develop and tell the story of are oftentimes the extreme fantasy version of our own life scenarios and choices. We can follow the characters on screen, see their decisions, and get a hint as to what's going on in our minds. But if we don't know what to look for in the first place, we might get lost. If you've seen enough movies, there's a big chance that certain moments stuck out to you. A euphoric scene that stuck with you for years, something that catches you at the right moment in your life and makes you reflect on something you've been thinking about. Maybe it's the relationship you're struggling with, the new city that you don't belong in, or even just a problem with your work. Even something as subtle as the color of someone's shirt in a movie you're watching can help you come to a new realization that you needed. Maybe it reminds you of a friend, of a certain time in your life you forgot about. Maybe it helps you solve a problem that's been bugging you for years. Your favorite movies tell you more about yourself than you'll ever know. They reveal your personality. They show you your thought process and the unique way you do things. And if you pay attention, they can reveal what you're actively trying to ignore in your life. It's because movies take our lives to the extreme. Our lust for greed gets expanded in Breaking Bad. The wish for comfort at that job we hate gets subtly revealed in The Matrix. And Avatar slaps us in the face with the life of adventure we're secretly waiting for. These stories bring our problems to life. They get expanded and explored. You're forced to sit down, see how each situation plays out, and how each character overcomes them. Or with a movie like Taxi Driver or Mid-90s, it can force you to see what your life would look like if you continued to indulge in your problems. This is why following your intuition when it comes to what media you consume is so important. At least for me, there'll be times I'm practically forced to watch a movie. It sticks out to me intensely and won't go away. You can either ignore this calling or take it, and the times I do, I end up with a completely new outlook on life and the problems I've been dealing with. Movies can slap this understanding in our faces because the extremes make it so obvious. Like the director is almost taunting you with his own realization. There's a link here that makes movies so powerful, and it is for this reason that if you're struggling, movies could give you the insight you need to make your next move. The force actually connecting these realizations in your life is writing. The more you write, the more thoughts of yours get put into words, which means the more of yourself you are actually aware of. When we watch movies, certain moments may resonate with us for a reason we have no idea of. But with writing, we may actually have a chance at understanding what's going on in our minds. Most people write and don't actually get anything done. They make it a habit to prove to themselves they're being productive. They write every day out of hate for their flaws, just to make a point. But that type of writing doesn't have any impact. My method of writing, at least what works for me, is usually waiting until I'm in the mood to write. It may be out of love or out of anger, but the point is having an overwhelming amount of emotion that forces me to write. Movies and music can help with that. And waiting for this timing lets me write for hours. It gets the most amount of work done easily, and more importantly, that emotion is going to make you write freely. You won't analyze each sentence you put down. You're not going to scrutinize your work. This act of writing is for its own sake, just to channel your emotions, and you might never come back to what you wrote, but the effect is always there. You start writing, and over time, your thoughts start to flow clearly. There's less background noise, and you can get to the bottom of your situation. Most importantly, movies start to make more sense to you now. You begin to see parts of yourself in each character. Whole movies dedicated to exploring a single aspect of your personality. A whole director's catalog meant for you to see a locked part of yourself in. Sometimes it's a piece of dialogue, sometimes it's just the vibe of what you're watching, but you get it now. It starts to make sense, and you start to make actual progress in your life. All thanks to a dumb movie you decided to watch when you were bored.
You don't have an epidemic of mental illness, you have an epidemic of psychiatry. You eat too much, it's a disease, it's an addiction. You smoke too much, it's a disease. You're too unhappy, it's a disease. You're too thin, it's a disease. You're too fat, it's a disease. But it's not just psychiatry, it's the whole psychiatrization of the culture.
Maybe that movie helped you understand that maybe you don't have to overcome your problems. The characters on screen are thought to be perfect, but oftentimes are actually very flawed. They work with their flaws and make a great performance, and they get to their goals at any cost. Of course, in movies, this is taken to the extreme, but it is only through these extremes that we can understand the nuances of our own situation. It can help us understand that maybe we don't have problems. Maybe we just need to take the next step. Maybe we have too much energy, and the fact that we're ignoring our true calling is making us act out. Our problems many times have a simple solution, and it is movies like Castaway or The Pursuit of Happiness that teach us to rely on this faith.
There is nothing spontaneous, nothing natural about human desires. Our desires are artificial. We have to be taught to desire.
The art of a good movie is how it plays with desire. The director conducts the moves of the characters with precision, taking into account each of their personalities, flaws, and qualities to make the stories relatable and realistic. It is desire itself which weaves the story and all of its nuances together. It's for this reason that we must learn to be a director of our own lives. We must understand what makes us desire certain things. We must be a master of our minds. And the easiest way to comprehend this is through movies and the role of the director. Study the greats like Scorsese, Tarantino, Christopher Nolan. Watch their documentaries, their interviews. See how they think, how they process their own lives for the entertainment on screen. It is only through their skills that we will be able to understand and control our own thoughts and desires. Knowing how to get ourselves to be motivated, knowing how to use hate, knowing when enough is enough, knowing when to quit. All of this nuance can be understood through the art form on screen. When you learn to become the director of your own life, you start to understand what inputs create the outcomes you desire. You press this button, push that lever, and the life you desire starts to get built. Your actions slowly change. And through this new power, you learn how to use your weaknesses and flaws. What parts of yourself you can use to direct the rest. What parts of yourself you can use to direct the world, and how to move through it. Ultimately, it is mystery that makes life interesting though. The unknowns and exploring your curiosity is ultimately what leads to the most fun and the best life. Understanding the importance of not knowing everything can actually lead to you overcoming your problems. Ignoring both your weaknesses and strengths and just doing what needs to be done. Just following your curiosity. This is why movies can be so intriguing. The director knows how to throw in little details to keep our attention. In the same way, we can keep ourselves committed to our goals all the way until the finish line by throwing in small curveballs, little details and experiments to keep our desire flowing. When we stop playing the game, it's over because there's no more fun and our goals become boring. Everything stops and all progress is halted. If we want to understand ourselves and master our thoughts, we must understand what makes movies so impactful. The movies we watch can lead to the most powerful realizations if we write, and through them, we can make meaningful progress in our lives. By becoming the director of our own lives, we can achieve anything and master our decisions on the way there.